What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003 and starting to get very optimistic about this Pistons team. The Detroit Pistons just came away with a very big win against the Houston Rockets. Final score 107-96. In this video, we are going to go through, highlight three key performances from the day, and just talk about all the repercussions from this win. So, the first player that we do need to highlight this afternoon is Jalen Duren, who played an absolutely amazing game. Box score wise, looking at 16 points to go along with 14 boards, 3 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 8 of 8 from the floor, perfect from the field. Just a great game all around from Jalen Duren. And that doesn't even really mention the fact that he was able to contain Alperen Sengun in a big way. Sengun finished the game with just 11 points on 5 of 14 field goals. Jalen Duren did a great job of being disciplined on all the head fakes that he throws and all the kind of slow pace and whatnot type of stuff that he does down in the paint. Jalen Duren dealt with it in a huge way and impacted the game in a huge way as well. He was plus 16 on the plus minus, and that definitely checks out because we did a lot of the damage in the first quarter with Jalen Duren on the floor, and in the third quarter, after the Rockets had already caught back up, went on another run with Jalen Duren on the floor, and all of that makes sense. 8 of 8 from the field, also had a nice little turnaround jump shot, which is something we don't see a lot from Jalen Duren. Just have to applaud him. I know a lot of people in this fan base have been down on Jalen Duren for a better half of the year, but if he plays every game like tonight, he is a franchise center in my eyes, and there's no question about it. So, moving on, the next player that I do want to highlight is going to be Cade Cunningham. He finishes the game with 32 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. He was 12 of 22 from the floor, over 50%, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. 2 of those, at least, were dribble pull-ups. Perfect from the free throw line, 5 of 5, but I do have to mention he did have 10 turnovers. I'm pretty sure that's a season high from Cade, but a wise man once said, turnovers don't count when you win. Right now, looking at that, really unbothered by it, but I will mention a couple of those turnovers were pretty bad. I've always talked about on this channel, not all turnovers are created equal, and a lot of them tonight were definitely not on the pretty side of that spectrum. A couple of them were just kind of lazy entry passes that I wasn't a big fan of. A couple cross-court passes that normally he does a pretty good job of using his eyes to be able to swing the defense off, but the Rockets didn't fall for it. But that's all I'm going to say on that, because you have to mention 10 turnovers even in a win, but Cade did a lot more good than he did bad tonight. The Pistons got out to an early start in the first quarter, got up by 15. The Rockets fought back into it, went on a run of themselves, had it tied up by halftime, and then coming out in the second half, Cade just took over. He was 7 of 8 from the floor in the third quarter, and that was really the summary of the game. This game was won in the third quarter, and the Rockets were never able to come back. And the reason why it was won in the third quarter is because Cade was doing it all. Dribble pull-up threes, shot creation, hitting his middies, everything. Just did it all in the third quarter. And even with 10 turnovers, he played a very good game. So, moving on, the last player that we do need to highlight is Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser, his stats aren't going to jump off the stat sheet. Only played 13 minutes, finished with 8 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 3 of 7 from the floor. But the thing about it is, Marcus Sasser is in a very critical role right now. Cade played 36 minutes, which means we have to have somebody on the floor for the other 13 minutes or 12 minutes that Cade is not on the floor to create offense. Marcus Sasser was able to find a way to do that in the most crucial moment of the game. In the fourth quarter, when Cade went to the bench, which he always does at some point in the fourth quarter for a rest, the Pistons were having a hard time scoring the ball. And right when I mentioned that to the person I was talking to while watching the game, Marcus Sasser went in the lane, got a nice floater, probably could have been an and one. Next play down, confidently stepped into a three-pointer, and everything was all good. Right when it looked like the Rockets might have a chance to get back into the game, when the lead was getting cut down to single digits, the Pistons were struggling to score the ball without Cade, and Marcus Sasser came through and put points on the board at the most important time of the game. There's a lot of other guys that you can mention that I thought played a good game tonight. Beasley was able to knock down a couple shots. Holland, in his limited minutes, also played well. But I just think that right now, Marcus Sasser is in such a critical role that if he's able to come in and play minutes when Cade takes a breath and is able to be productive in those minutes, it can really swing this team. And I think that's exactly what happened tonight with Marcus Sasser. So, all things considered, this was a very good win for the Pistons. Right now, they were sitting at 500 before the game started, 21-21. This game puts them back one game over 500. And where they are at in the mix of the standings in the playoff/play-in picture, every single game is so critical. The Pistons had lost their 2 previous games before this one started, and a 3-game or 4-game skid can be really, really impactful in the Eastern Conference standings right now. So the fact that they were able to get a win on the road against a team like the Houston Rockets, who are on the top of the Western Conference, just says a lot about this team. I don't know what it is, but the Pistons' record on the road against Western Conference teams this year is really, really good. And that is a really good sign because it's hard to go out west and play these teams like the Rockets, who are 28-14 on the road, and come away with not only a win, but a comfortable win when they didn't even play their best basketball. So that's really encouraging for me to see, especially after a tough game against the Suns, where they probably had a good chance to win and weren't able to execute. Game before that, more or less the same story. So being able to bounce back and get a win here is a huge deal. I will say, though, Cade's turnovers, having 10 tonight, might be alarming to some, but I really need some more time to reflect on it. Because not only tonight did Cade manage to be super positively impactful despite those turnovers, but it's been tough for him since Ivey has went down. At the start of the year, Cade was turning over the ball at a really high clip, and every single month it was going down progressively. He had less turnovers in December than he had in November. He had less turnovers in January than he had in December. It was going down month by month, up until recently when Ivey went down. And now those turnovers are starting to go back up because Cade just does not have that secondary playmaker on the floor with him for any minutes like he did when Jaden Ivey was also sharing the starting lineup with him. Now, there's a couple solutions to that. Number one is potentially maybe having him share the floor with Marcus Sasser a little bit, but I don't know if Marcus Sasser would really alleviate that problem and work that well in that situation, kind of in the role that Ivey was in. Or the other thing that you could do is go trade for somebody like Lonzo Ball or a couple of these other names that got thrown around. But I'll save that for another video. I'm going to have to do a little bit more thinking on it. But if you're kind of wondering on where those turnovers have kind of came back to creep up to the high points that they were on at the start of the year, that would be my theory. So let me know what you guys think. I thought it was a great win. It's going to be really important from now till the All-Star break. We've got a tough schedule, a lot of games on the road against good teams. So really encouraging that we were able to get this one. We'll catch up soon.